this is Sivonnia DeBarros, the protector of athletes, and I'm going one-on-one with ADC Partners.
Hey, this is Dave Almy of ADC Partners, and thanks for checking out this latest episode of the One-on-One Sports Business Conversations podcast. If you enjoy it, be sure to tell a friend. Heck, why not tell two? Now, my guest in this episode, Sivonnia DeBarros, is known as the protector of athletes. Second, that doesn't sound right at all. I mean, if you're going to be known as the protector of athletes, you clearly need something a little more grand than that. Okay, how about this?
Sivonnia DeBarros, protector of athletes.
Yep, much better. A former athlete herself, DeBarros is applying her legal background to help athletes avoid missteps that lead to financial and contractual challenges. And with the rise of name, image, likeness opportunities for college athletes, she's never been busier. In our conversation, we go into her inspiring path to becoming a lawyer and then launching her own law firm. We also cover her burning desire to work with athletes, where she sees NIL opportunities and challenges for college athletes, and the ongoing legal struggles of the NCAA. She also lets you know when it's appropriate to yell, "I object," outside of the courtroom, so there's clearly a lot of value there. So as always, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy my conversation with Sivonnia DeBarros, founder of SL DeBarros Law, author, and the protector of athletes. Sivonnia, at an age where I think most kids want to be an astronaut or fire truck driver or something like that, I read that you wanted to be a lawyer at like age 4. That's a pretty tender age to think that, the legal profession is what I want to pursue. How on earth did that happen? I mean, that's not usual.
David, divinity. I truly believe, I am a believer of God. And as children, I strongly believe that the desires we have at that age is extremely pure. It is part of the divine. And so when I said I wanted to be a lawyer, now that I look back on it, I know it had to be something bigger than who I was, because who at 4 know what a lawyer is?
Were you writing contracts for kindergarten classmates and things like
that? Thank you. I did not know what being an attorney was, like what it meant.
Yeah.
But hindsight, when I think about me saying that I want to be an attorney and then thinking about who I am and my characteristics, it just makes sense. And so I do believe that God gives us our assignments very, very early. Some of us choose to listen to it and follow that path, and some of us don't. Some of us, we go out into the world with our experiences and with other people's thoughts and beliefs, and we allow that to cloud what our initial thoughts and feelings were that we would do with our lives. For me, it was at the forefront of everything that I did.
It was that single-minded for you. You really felt this path, this draw towards it because it was just within you.
Yes. That's absolutely how I felt. And every year, things would happen that just did not sit right with my spirit. And that's why I call myself the protector now, because even back then there were things that were happening where I wanted to jump in, I wanted to support, I wanted to protect.
So this wasn't things that were drawing you away from your path. These were things that you were seeing that you felt that's not right.
Absolutely.
And it needs to be addressed. And you felt it very integrally to who you are, a spirit of justice, for lack of a better term.
Yep.
And that carried through. So that was all the way through your education,
everything,
high school,
everything.
College, and you go on, you graduate law school. And part of some of the things that I read is like you experienced some hurdles to find a spot at what I'm doing for those who are just listening, the air quotes around traditional law firm.
Yep.
And that led you to launch your own firm in 2014. That is not a common thing for someone graduating law school. Can you
Yes,
talk
ma'am.
about that process? And I'm
Oh my
really
God.
curious about
Hmm.
what you learned during that time that
Hmm.
still impacts you today.
Oh my gosh. Let me start with that.
Yeah.
I think the biggest lesson I've learned about me since that time is that I don't need anyone's permission to do what God has already given me the authority to do.
Yeah, it's already baked in.
And so back then it was, I want this job, obviously. I had always wanted and desired to have my own law firm, but you know how some people say, make sure that you're extremely specific in your prayers because God will give you exactly what you asked for. He did. I didn't ask for the multi-partner firm and all this other stuff with the bells and whistles. But anyway,
Clearly, God was not had
uh,
that in for you.
right. But one thing I made a promise to myself because I'm not a dummy. I graduated, what my GPA was, what, a 3.4 something, out of law school,
Yeah, that's
had
no small
all the
trick.
experience. At the time, I didn't even recognize that I was a published author by the time I graduated law school. So there are so many different achievements that I had before and as a law student, and a law grad. And I did not believe that I needed to pigeonhole myself
Mm,
or beg someone for a job. I did the interviews. I expressed how I felt like I qualified for the positions, and still I was not selected. So I gave myself a very short window. So the year that I graduated law school was 2013.
hmm.
I took the bar the exact same year, and I was barred officially in October.
Okay.
I gave myself from that time to the end of January, and this was my prayer. I said, God, if I do not have a position that I like, I am just going to step out on faith and open my own firm, which is what I did, because I said January 31st of 2014. So
This
open that firm.
this idea of starting your own firm as a recent college graduate takes a lot of self-confidence.
Yeah.
Or is it just crazy? Is it a lot of crazy or a lot of
I mean, a
self-confidence?
little bit. I mean, well, you know what? Some of the best people that we look up to today have
Hmm.
done things that other people have thought was crazy, too
Yeah.
risky. And for me, I know that my desire to serve is higher than me waiting too long to lose the passion around law, and obviously even building the skills that I need today, right? If I would have waited like some of my colleagues did or my peers did, got grouped into that document review stuff, you're doing that for 2, 3 years, you're still unhireable. No one wants to hire you, right? Because you have no skills. So for me, it was, I cannot wait for someone to tell me that I'm good enough. I have to believe that I already have the authority and the intellect to do what I can by myself.
Yeah, you chose to invest in yourself.
Correct.
Yeah. And that gave you the
Hmm.
freedom to be able to shape yourself into the type of lawyer and practice the type
Absolutely.
of law without being put into a box that would have happened if you
Absolutely.
were at a larger firm.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it allowed you then to more quickly, because you're avoiding things like
Hmm.
document review, which just hearing the phrase makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit, document review kind of thing. Um, but in the past, you've talked about the fire that you felt. We talked about it previously, right? The idea of
Hmm.
justice and seeing wrongs and wanting to fix them.
Hmm.
But you also felt this desire to represent athletes.
Absolutely.
Where did that come from? Was it from your own athletic experience and seeing things that were going on at that time? Like, how did that motivation start to shape your direction?
I'm an athlete, grew up around athletes. Have a cousin that was a professional athlete.
Okay.
And it never dawned on me that that was something that lawyers did, you
Hmm.
know. So when I went to law school, I didn't think I was going to be a sports entertainment attorney.
Hmm.
That was so far from my mind. So when I first opened my firm, I was taking family law cases,
Yeah.
which I don't like, do not want to ever do again.
Was it just too, what was it about it that you didn't like? It was just too granular? Did it
It's,
take you away from what you wanted to do?
one, there are rules around family law, but attorneys don't follow the rules and
Oh,
judges don't follow the rules.
yeah, okay.
And it's too messy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So
can get pretty
yeah.
dark.
Yep. Like I don't want to do that. Did it to make sure I can have some money coming to my firm. Will
Right.
never do it again.
Right. So as you start your own
Yeah.
firm, you sort of have to start with what comes in.
Start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep. Start somewhere. And so when I did that, there was something that came up that I learned about because I was in it around modification of child support. And I was watching a documentary, 30 for 30, Gone Broke, how a lot of athletes, male athletes, were losing their financial stability primarily, minus the entourage issues, but primarily around having multiple children,
Mm-hmm.
having costly divorces, and they were not going to modify their child support. Because I'm in Illinois, so in Illinois, if you don't file to modify your income and you don't get the same multi-million-dollar deal, or you're
Right.
not picked up, your child support is still based off of that
period of time.
multi-million-dollar deal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I said, "Oh my God, I need
So
to
this was an eye opener.
athletes." Yep. So that's kind of how that came into view. But then the emotion from it just,
You felt it. You just felt it like it was part of this construct that you had in yourself. You really felt the hook in you about watching these people, and you identified with them as an athlete yourself. You
yep,
sort of saw where this was coming from, and so the law practice then begins to turn. I mean, you do a lot of different things. You have a lot of different
yeah.
skill sets.
And then, then I did, because I didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. I'm being honest.
Okay.
I did not know any better. But I'll tell you this, during that time, that's when it like really dropped into my spirit. And I said, okay, never left me. 2017 was when I really it started to click for me. And I said, okay, I need to figure out who I really want to serve. And then I started thinking about me. What do I represent? Who am I as a person? And these three categories popped in my mind. Okay, women business owners. I'm a first generation lawyer in my family. So first generation companies, or say like first generation millionaire entrepreneurs, and then athletes, right? All of those categories have so much in common. And I said, oh my God, that's those are my people.
So on the outside looking in, you look at the spectrum that you just underscored.
Yep.
Female business owners to professional athletes. On the outside looking in, those can seem disparate, but you saw a chord that kind of connected all of them. And if you can you distill that, what those common threads are that you see between them that sort of gave you this focus, like this is how I want to approach this?
Yep. The biggest thing is those categories typically lack the resources and the support to help them build successful brands and businesses. Women typically support other people, but there's not a lot of people who support women, right? First generation business owners, they have great ideas, but especially if they're coming from marginalized communities, they have no idea where to start.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. Then when you're looking at athletes, if we're looking at athletes that are going or have the potential to go to the professional level, and maybe some of these athletes are taking what they've earned from the pro sport to create a business, then they are missing out on that protection piece. And so we can tie all of them back around, because even first generation business owners or first generation millionaires may have said, oh my God, I created this idea and it just popped off this year, but if I need to bring in this person to collaborate or this person as a vendor, they don't even understand the legality around that. So we're still looking at the protection piece.
Right.
And so
there's so many facets to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But lately you've been spending a lot of time on college sports and name, image, likeness.
Yeah.
I'm interested because this is such a dynamic part of not just college sports, of the entire sports industry. It seems like it's changing on a, wait a minute, I'm looking at my watch. Yep, changing on a 10-minute basis.
Right.
New things are happening, new cases are being decided. The NCAA waves the white flag on something else. I'm wondering how, in your practice, NIL first got on your radar. And did you have initial thoughts about what the impact was going to be?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm one of very few lawyers who was on the scene before NIL was legally a thing in the
Mm-hmm.
collegiate space.
Yeah.
And the reason why it came on my radar is because I wanted athletes and their parents or whomever supports them as advocates to understand, yeah, this option is available at the college level. So now how do you protect those rights, right? Not only do how you protect them, but how do you leverage them? How can you leverage them in a way that can be monetized, but not just monetized for a quick buck, monetized for long-term stability, which a lot of people that we've seen, they can create quick brand, quick deals, they get quick money, but there's no full thought process, pre-thought into how can I leverage this long term, really create a long-term partnership. So this was I started writing my first book around business and sports. What are you sporting about? In 2020, it was published in 2020 as well. I actually started writing in 2019, published in 2020, and NIL was still like the conversations were still happening, and so I had to brace myself because I wanted to put a lot of stuff in that book. That's okay.
Yeah.
No. Focus. Just finish this one.
Yeah.
Finish this one.
Keep it on the paper.
And then write another. Exactly. So literally, once I finished writing What Are You Sporting About, I already had started writing
so you just jumped right
Athletes Making Moves, How to Protect Your Name, Image, and Likeness, because I needed them to understand you have this right at the collegiate space, but it's not new.
Yeah.
And here's why it's not. Here's what's going to come up.
Did you have a sense then of where athletes, particularly college athletes, when we're thinking about NIL, would find themselves getting into trouble based on your past experience? Did you look at it and say, oh, geez, this is going to be problematic for these, and this is where people really should be aware out of the gate? Or did it come more organically for you?
Two things that I felt could be a problem.
Okay.
One, predators.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you saying there's some not good players that are focused on college sports?
Look, every time there's something on the scene, man, you get these people that's like just sharks in the water, man. Oh my God, it's absolutely terrible. But then the biggest concern, other than that one, was student athletes going broke much earlier in their careers than their professional counterparts. Like that was the biggest concern that I had, is because I want this opportunity to be something, to be a launch pad for them that can really set them up. We've had athletes taking deals way before NIL was a thing in the college space, and they lost, some of them lost eligibility. We just saw that Reggie Bush got his Heisman Trophy back because he lost his. Agent came, was paying money for him, paying money for the mama to live or something. I don't know, it was something crazy. So, people have been taking these deals for a long time. But I just knew, I said, okay, and especially if they are popular athletes, the gates of what they could have will completely be open to them, but to what cost? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A major part of what athletes bring to the table for the brands that they work with in NIL is the social media audiences, right?
Yeah.
They classified as athlete creators. And I'm wondering if there's unique legal considerations that these athletes need to have when they're bringing products to their audiences and doing endorsement deals or sponsored content. What do they need to be especially careful of?
Now, are we talking about with separated companies or with the school?
Separated companies. So they're deals that they would do with potential partners.
Listen, one of the biggest things that I will point to is students agreeing to post certain things to bring in revenue for product that they may have sponsored, and it's still there. Like once your agreement ends, it's still on your platform. The company's still making money from it.
Yeah. So it's the legacy of the thing.
Right. The company's still making money for it. My concern is, what did you negotiate inside of that deal in terms of deleting that post that is driving traffic there? Or do you have long-term residuals off of anyone who may land on that, click that link to pay you? You know what I'm saying? Like you get a split.
Oh, yeah, you're creating a deal in perpetuity to a certain degree if you're not going back and doing it.
Exactly. So if I have to create this content for the company and it draws in revenue, but my deal with you is, let's say it's a 2-year deal, and I've created all this content. Now when the deal is over, this content still is on my platform, which I wouldn't want to take it all off, because then you lose 2 years of content. So can we talk about a royalty payment for any deals that come through on this special link, right? Or anyone that's landed on my page that then purchased this item.
I had never considered that from the standpoint of you could be driving business for a company far beyond the term of any contract that you have because it's existing on your socials.
Absolutely.
You need something. I mean, what other parts of the law are you paying attention to because like we talked about earlier, NIL is so dynamic right now. It just feels like there's so many things happening. Are there specific parts that you're looking at right now?
Yep. IP issues, contract issues. For me, it's something that comes up all the time in my business. I represent speakers. I represent millionaire entrepreneurs who have brand deals that are exorbitant, and we're talking about name, image, and likeness all the time, right? Us doing this is name, image, and likeness. We have our photos and our videos and our voice will be on a platform, for however long. And so those are the consistent things that athletes or entrepreneurs need to think about when they're thinking about name, image, and likeness. It is not this fictitious that lives in college sports. It is something that we do every single day. It is a commodity. It's something that we trade with. It's something that we pay for, and so those terms come up all the time, especially for intellectual property, the things that you are creating, whether it is your name or not. If it came from you, if it came from your brain, and you've taken that step to protect it, then that's your NIL. That's your stuff. And you have the right to guide and protect and to make decisions on who can be compensated from it, who can earn revenue from it, who can use it or not use it.
This podcast host is taking some quick notes regarding intellectual property. Just 1 second. Okay. No, but I mean, these are critical issues, and it's like this is so new and it's happening so fast. And I've talked to a couple of athletes who are very, very focused on NIL and having a lot of success with it. But they also talk about the pressure to want to get these deals. And when teammates get deals, I would think I deserve a deal. Why aren't I getting a deal? So there's a lot of motivation, I think, for athletes to maybe run to opportunities and deals that aren't always well thought out. So I'm interested in, if you're talking to an athlete for the first time and they want to know what steps should they take to protect themselves, do you have some advice on what some of their first moves should be from a legal standpoint?
Absolutely. They need to take inventory of all the things that they have done and that they've created because some people in the locker room may know you by something totally different than your birth name. And that's a legit brand. Like if you're using it as a brand, like that's something that you can protect, right? So if you want to monetize it or if you want to leverage it in some way, then let's start with protecting that. But we need to know what we have so that we can then proceed to protecting it. So definitely taking an audit of that. 2, finding the resource, like when I say finding resources, finding the people that you need. Some of those people might be on campus. Okay, so going to your career services office, they may have people who can support you. If you're at a college that also has like a law school that's attached to, that school, then you may be able to go to the law center for free legal advice. I mean, that's resources that you need to use right now while you're in college. But the biggest thing I would say for athletes who are feeling the pressure of getting a deal and actually want a deal, don't necessarily, I know we talked about money, but don't necessarily think about just money, because you can still have a deal that money isn't changing hands, but it could be a brand that could really put you in the room with some powerful people and decision makers.
Right.
That's huge. And if you
Leverage
ask
that
me,
non-monetary value.
thank you. If you
Yeah.
ask me, that's worth more than what they can pay you today.
Yeah, they may
You
pay you
know? So,
$500 to rep a drink, but if you can get in the decision
right.
makers room with the marketing team.
Yep.
No,
Yep.
okay.
I mean, shoot, if you could have dinner with the CEO of Coca-Cola.
You got to have a lawyer who's going to be able to point you in the direction to advocate for yourself in a certain way. I
Yep.
mean, it's a fascinating point
Yep.
because these athletes, particularly with those who are adept at social media, it seems like pretty
Mm-hmm.
much every athlete today, they
Yeah.
have unlocked a barrier that lots of
Mm-hmm.
companies are trying to figure out. They have a natural
Absolutely.
draw and affinity to social media that a lot of companies would kill for. So there
Yeah.
is making sure you account for your own value
Yeah.
in these
Absolutely.
kinds of conversations,
Yeah.
which for a new person isn't always easy. It's hard to do as an adult.
It really, really is. One thing I'll say too, David, is, and what I'm seeing a lot in this newer generation of college students, they have no idea how to have a conversation.
Mm.
It's you're having to try to pull stuff out of them. And so if you have the opportunity to be in front of someone, like even your professors, I had great relationships with my professors. My deans wrote me letters of recommendations.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mine did not. That must be a lovely glow to feel. Yeah, but okay. But
that's
having a good
hilarious.
having a good relationship with your professors and drawing them out,
Yes.
drawing young athletes out to be engaging and
Yep.
thoughtful, and that's a hard
Yep.
thing to do. It's a skill.
It is a skill. It's something that they need to practice, but be prepared with questions. So if you know you're gonna go somewhere where someone important is gonna be there, then you should think about what is two things that I really, really want to know from this person.
Mm.
What are my long-term goals?
Yeah, going with
Right?
the end
So
in
what
mind.
questions do I need to ask, right, to either help me get connected to someone that can help me fulfill this goal? What should I be doing now? And if I'm being 100% real, like some of these professors are big deals.
Hmm.
People, they just don't, I don't know. I guess they don't really connect it because it's like, okay, it's just my teacher. But some of these professors have done some great things. You have no idea who you're in front of.
Well, you also don't know who was sitting in their class 10 years ago,
That's
who
true.
they're
That's
connected to, who
that's a
might
good one.
be
Yep,
the CEO of Coca-Cola, right? So
absolutely,
there's a chain that's gone through that classroom.
absolutely.
I'm interested, Sivonnia, as you think about the changes to NIL, again, like we've talked about, very dynamic. Is there a role for the NCAA here? Should they be regulating and enforcing NIL?
Yeah,
Or is it, you know what, hands off, you guys screw up
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
Just let it go.
It's hard to say because there's arguments for both sides. Honestly, I mean, if it wasn't for the Austin case, the NCAA would likely still have the same guardrails on athletes.
Yeah, we wouldn't have any of these
Uh,
conversations.
Right. We wouldn't be having these conversations. We will still be seeing students who are risking their eligibility and what they say their long-term goals are for the hope that someone could help them. I mean, a lot of these full scholarship students are still broke. They're still
Yeah,
hungry,
yeah,
you know? So on one side, I see the benefit of having one entity regulating because then it just becomes too convoluted and it's just too
yeah.
much. Like even
50
with just
states
all
with
the
50
state
different
rules,
processes.
right? It's just too much. And Virginia just said that all their colleges and universities can now make deals directly from the school to the student athlete. So you don't think these other states about to follow suit
Yeah, those
because
dominoes are going to start falling.
is going to start falling. And then we have some bills at the federal level that wants to bring everything together and have one official rule. But then when we start looking at the federal rules, it's just I really feel like there's a lot of risk to the athlete that could take place in watering down what their rights could be.
Is this horse out of the barn? I mean, from the
Yeah.
standpoint of it's all fair and good to say, is there a role? And it's kind of, I'm wondering if it's, and you can be honest with me, be blunt. Is that a stupid question? Right? Is this horse so far out of the barn that the NCAA, like, there's no way that they could ever try to get their arms back around this?
Yeah, I don't think they're not, they can't go
Yeah, it was a stupid question.
Yeah, yeah, they can't rope NIL back in. Not
Yeah.
not in terms of what it is now. Like it's out there. Now the biggest thing is how do we synchronize it, right? How do we get it to a place where students aren't jeopardizing, again, possibly eligibility because you transfer from this state to that state, but your rules were this way and they're different this way. So you're acting the same way as you were in state A, and now we got a whole issue. It's yeah, it's
It's
all
a
of
lot.
that.
I think you
Yeah.
draw the point out really well from the standpoint of it's great for athletes because they have all this opportunity and it's the Wild West. And for those athletes who are both excellent at their craft, but sort of see the marketplace evolving and are anxious to try
Hmm.
different things, that's great. But it does open up the doors for
Yeah.
I mean, it's great
It's a lot
for
more. Yeah.
it's great for your
It's a
firm in
lot
that
more
it creates a
questions.
lot of legal implications.
Yeah. And I'll say this too. If federal rules came to rope in NIL, I can understand why as a legal professional, because we have student athletes who are also foreign student athletes who
Mm.
cannot take advantage of NIL in the States because of visa processes and stuff, right? And so that will take a whole situation to have to go in and modify the immigration rules. And I think I'm not an immigration attorney, so this part I absolutely do not know, just being 100%
All right, yeah, yeah.
honest.
Oh, no, don't
But
anybody chime in and who
all right,
wants
there's my
legal
disclaimer.
immigration
Yes,
advice.
but I remember someone saying that there might have been a modification or something to the immigration rules, but to really make it holistic for all student athletes, I mean that could be an opportunity for the federal government to provide full equity for every student athlete. Like if there's a student athlete from another country, we don't know if they're any better off than a student athlete from America that is marginalized. Like
Hmm.
we don't know. So
Three-dimensional chess at this point is what we're talking about here. Let me ask you, do you think there's still a place for amateurism in college
ooh.
sports? Do you feel like, I mean, I've talked to a couple people about this, and there's obviously the
Mhm.
traditionalists who are like, oh, paying college athletes ruins the fabric of college sports. It'll never be what it was, and so forth and so
I
on. And
don't think so. I mean, they were already being paid. It was just under the table. So
so we're just bringing it out into the light. Everything basically
yeah,
stays the same.
I mean, honestly, I've never really seen college athletes as amateurs anyway,
Okay.
right? Their names, the billboards, they're playing at the same facilities that professional athletes are playing at.
They were professional in everything
They're
in name only.
right. Their names and their skill set is selling tickets. Schools are making billions of dollars and have the ability to do $1 billion renovations because of these teams. How is that amateur? And not only that, but especially when we're looking at contact sports, a lot of these athletes are sacrificing their bodies in hopes of having a better future. A lot of athletes for years have sacrificed their degrees, right? Their education in some way, because their coaches have also, y'all coaches don't come for me, okay? Okay, I've heard this from other people. Don't come for me. But anyway,
Stay out of the comments, coaches.
you're right. Stand down. But there have been coaches to say, "Oh, take this class because it's easier. It'll be able to help with your training schedule, your game schedule." And so, on the flip side, it's if I'm sacrificing my education and what could be a great degree for me or major for me, then I'm also sacrificing the opportunity of what my professional business life could look like if I don't go pro. So they are sacrificing a lot. And I don't think it's fair for people to say we shouldn't pay these athletes because if I'm being 100% honest, the athletes who are bringing in most of those dollars for those institutions are Black and Brown athletes who traditionally are coming from communities. Not all of us, right, are down in the dump and broken, living in the hood, but there are a large number of student athletes who are so marginalized that their plan has been to go pro so they can help their families out of that. What better way to provide and introduce NIL if they want to take it to be able to create a framework and a groundwork of creating the life that they want without having to sacrifice their bodies in that way just to go pro.
Without having to worry that one blown out knee
could cost them everything.
Could cost them everything.
Yeah.
Sivonnia DeBarros, she is the protector of athletes. I think you can hear the passion coming through the speaker. Don't you dare be sorry.
Probably yelling the speakers out.
I have to turn the volume down in my headphones just a little bit. But before I let you go,
yes,
I'm going to put you into the lightning.
Okay.
These are questions that have been produced by the one-on-one sports business conversation supercomputer. They're based on a variety of different things. Are you prepared for what's about to happen?
No, but look. I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Last one right here.
Ready.
Loosen up. Here we go. All right. Okay. As a college athlete, you competed in track and field.
Yep.
What were your favorite and least favorite events?
The 400.
Oh, I've heard.
Which I hated running, but my coach made me do it for training.
Yeah.
The 400 and the 200 was my favorite. That was my event.
It's that extra 200 that really just does make the difference.
I'm like, come on. But I am a true sprinter. My legs did not work after the second.
And off. All right. What is your favorite legal TV show or movie?
Oh my God, Law and Order was the one that I love.
Were you like 4 years old watching Law and Order? Like, were you sitting in front of the TV going like, oh, that's it?
Oh my God, I used to love that show. And then when I was a kid, I watched In the Heat of the Night.
Oh yeah.
That was the old one. I love that. I love there are a lot of amazing new shows that I like How to Get Away with Murder was really, really good.
Okay, all right, slow down. DeBarros.
Okay.
Like the last thing we need is like you talking about how you're trying to abuse your position to get around the law. Question: is there ever a time and place to yell "I object" outside of the courtroom?
All the time, especially in my house.
With the kids? Oh yeah, they're bringing it back to mom. Okay, I get it. What advice do you have for people thinking about attending law school?
So just make sure that that's truly what you want to do, because it's going to take a lot of sacrifice from you. Time, reading, like your intellectual sacrifice. Like you're not going to have a lot of free time to go and hang out and stuff.
Yeah,
but then also just think about the type of law as well.
Yeah, so that's why we do not have Dave Almy, Esquire. Last one. You've got, like we've talked about, you have books.
Yep.
You have podcasts, and more to your name. Mm-hmm. Is it officially time for the Sivonnia DeBarros IMAX movie?
Absolutely love that.
Yeah. That would be the way to go. Sivonnia DeBarros, thanks so much for spending the time today.
Thank you so much, David. This is fun.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the One-on-One Sports Business Conversations podcast. If you enjoyed it, we always appreciate a subscribe, share, comment, or like. And don't forget, you can always find past episodes at adcpartners.com/podcast. This podcast is written, produced, edited, and hosted by Dave Almy. And theme music was composed by Scott Holmes.